Looks like a new day is dawning.
Well, welcome back to Long Dark. Since we've settled down here for the night, now we can go through everything we got, get ready to go on. Now, if you're stuck, out in the wilderness, this is actually probably one of the best times you would have to actually do that. To go through your equipment, figure out what you still need to be carrying, what you don't need to be carrying anymore. Take a look at what you're carrying to see if anything needs to be done. For instance, I found ammo last time. And ammo is best used while it's inside of something like that. I have my cooking pot and my skillet already, so I'm going to leave the other skillet where it is. In a more survival situation, I might consider bringing another skillet with me or something similar. But in this case, well, having both a pot and a skillet, I probably wouldn't, as the two of those would probably be enough to cover for each other. Now, looking out, I see that let's see how cold. Let's see how cold it is outside. How good of a look I can see. Now, when you have heights like this is a great way to tell, hey, where am I gonna go next? You can see things like this trail right here, which is the train tracks that go through here. If I look off here, I can see there's where the old thing was set up. And if I look, I don't see much else that I would be taking. So then I'd come back in here. The extra stims and antibiotics I don't actually need. I've gone through the first aid kit. But I have two of these, so I'd leave. Well, honestly, I'd probably be carrying a second knife. Knives are probably one of the most useful tools you have, and if they break, you're in trouble. The difference is this knife that I'm carrying won't break accidentally. It will only really break if I misuse it. I have tinder. I have books that I still need to read. I have 2 fire strikers, which is pretty good, along with the matches. I have a bunch of stuff that's ready to go, so it's time to head down. Now, I've just noticed this, and I think this is just a artifact of this being a game, but the temperature didn't change when I opened the door. The temperature changed when I stepped out of the door. So, I mean, that's probably more of a coding issue than a realism issue, I would think. But keeping the door closed does, in fact, keep the hot air in. But yeah, I'd have loved to see if they could re-render this for like the spring or the summer. Honestly, if they could make a game that uses this art style, but would be during, summer months, that would be, I think that'd be a gorgeous looking game. I mean, some people always talk about, realism of art in your games, and while realism's great, sometimes stylized really gives you a wonderful feel, and stylized is a lot easier to do. So let's take a look down slope. Yeah, going down a steep slope like that in real life would be a bad idea. Granted, you can, as some people call it, Skyrim your way down around there without getting hurt, but it would be something that would most likely lead to you getting hurt, as opposed to you going down without getting injured. And oh look, a couple of wolves. And now, if I was, if I was surviving and I ran across this would actually worry me a bit, because let's face it, a derailed train car, if it's any kind of line that you normally see, I expect that to be cleaned up relatively quickly. Now, especially if it looks like it'd been there for any serious amount of time. If it looks like it had been freshly derailed, maybe not. Actually, if it had been freshly derailed, I'd probably set up shelter near it for a day or two, just to wait and see if somebody would show up. Because most of the times when there's a derailment of a train, anybody who uses that line will will try to move heaven and earth, will at least try to move heaven and earth so that they can get the trains flowing again. Scavenging nuts. So, back when I was a kid, my grandfather had one of my grandfathers basically had a personal farm in the rather large backyard he had, and one of the things that he had there was a walnut tree. And from there, I kind of found out you can't just pick nuts. At least in most cases, you have to remove them. You have to dry them. You have to actually, process them. Now, in the long dark, you cook them, so you're probably roasting them over a fire, which is actually one of the normal methods of preparing nuts. Most peanuts, walnuts, cashews, almonds, all of those things, generally speaking, they've been fire roasted or something similar to keep to dry them out and make them actually edible. Not all, but some nuts are actually dangerous to eat if they haven't been prepared. I don't know offhand with acorns. I do know that pecans, which are something you'll find in the southern United States, and the like, don't. Other than that, I don't really know for sure, and this is one of the reasons why learning about these things is so important when you're actually going to do survival. Now, the other thing you do when you're dealing with something like that is you make sure you have references. A lot of companies will make a small survival manual that you can put in a bag that you can read. One of the most common ones is the Pocket SAS Survival Guide. It really has general stuff, and it won't be very helpful for any one particular area, but it is there. There are field guides made by every company you can imagine, and each of them has, what leads from some interesting information to being chock full of it. Some even will have more than a little bit of false information. So you need to always think about, is this really, does this really sound right?
Could end up being useful.
Well, I can take those apart. So understanding at least the broad basics of survival always help. Having specific guides or having a guide, as in a person, to help you out
This stuff will come in
is
handy.
never a bad idea. I don't have a flare gun. So, having that, how many feathers do I have? I have 8 feathers. Fire hardened arrows. 5 crow feathers, 5 sticks, 3 fire hardened arrows. I can get some fire hardened arrows to allow me to hunt at least something that's small. Now I've seen how you make the survival bow in this game. You make it out of, well, a seasoned piece of maple, which isn't bad, but in all honesty, unless you've been making bows, you're probably not going to make one with a very high pull weight. I know you use the bow to hunt everything from rabbits and ptarmigan up to moose and bear, but quite honestly, given what the actual pull of one of those bows would be like, I wouldn't take it over or anything over like the ptarmigans and rabbits. Maybe, and this is a maybe, you use it to drive off the wolf. With a good hunting broadhead, you could probably wound a deer, maybe get it to bleed out, but more likely you'd wound it and it would run off. And you'd be stuck with one less arrow and nothing to eat. And there's the ptarmigan. But now it's not a good time to go hunting. I should have just run and tried to pick that sucker up. See if I could. But for now, get inside. Now, I'm doing the whole explore, get to where we want to go. Flour, cooking oil. Well, you know what? I'm just going to pick it all up.
Feels like a lot of gear.
I'll take it upstairs and get ready. Another soda. More matches. Hooray for smokers. Pinnacle peaches. I'm not going to need that recycled can. I think I'm going to have to go out hunting some ptarmigan.
This will come in handy.
For several reasons. Now, having someplace like this is honestly probably one of the best places you could be set at in dealing with being lost in a wintry area. However, one thing that I find kind of funny is that a place like this, you'd expect it to have a bathroom. Some painkillers. Let's see what's in the drawers. book. Ketchup chips. Now, that's a lot of stuff. So let's see. Let's start with the wood matches. I've got 100 of them. Now, starting a fire out in the open is, I mean, it's something you're going to have to
Turned out pretty
do
well.
if you're in a survival situation, but in all honesty, I don't have any other wood. Okay. That's not right. Let's get some more wood going. But honestly, starting a fire out in the middle of nowhere is never a fun deal. Especially if you're stuck having to do it out in the open with wind or anything like that. That's the lower end cooking skillet. Do I have enough to make fire hardened arrows? I need one more stick. I need to get rid of some stuff. Let's see, what do we got here? I'll take the books out in a second. Nothing in there that's really... I'll put the boots in there for time being, since I'm not actually going to be using those. Oh yeah, that's right. Cooking oil and flour. That's almost 3.5 kilos right there. Now, good thing about stuff like flour. Flour is actually really useful in a survival situation. You can turn it into a lot of things really easily, and it keeps very, very well. But, and there's the big but, it's heavy. Just those little bags of flour are going to weigh, a couple kilos, or, 4 or 5 pounds if you're in the land of guns and such. But when you look at carrying stuff like that, it becomes very much an issue, because you have to cook it. You have to do a lot of things to make flour, usable. I mean, technically, you don't have to do much if you want to just, if you want to be simple about it. Matter of fact, that's what bannocks are. It's simply water and flour, and you fry it, and you make kind of a flatbread. How good that would be, I don't really know. Now, you can make pancakes if you have syrup. Technically, you're making flatbread and putting syrup on it, but that's just kind of the way things are. Now I can get some actual arrows. Now I can go hunt some ptarmigan. But first, let's cook something here. These pinnacle peaches always weigh you down. So, something that'll come up a lot when you deal with survivalists. They'll talk about, about weight, about there's 3 things you want in any piece of survivalware or food. You want it to be light, you want it to be sturdy, and you want it to be small in way of volume. You could never really get everything you want when dealing with food. The lightest stuff you can get is freeze dried, and freeze dried is actually pretty good for a lot of reasons. But there's always a trade-off. In freeze dried's case, you can't bring extra. You gotta have a lot of water because you don't just, cook freeze dried stuff. You have to rehydrate it, and that goes through a lot, and I mean a lot of water. And depending upon where you are, that may or may not be a good idea for you to use freeze dried. Now, what you're doing here in the long dark, you're in a place that's covered with snow and water. Freeze dried would be great. You're gonna have to fill that thing with boiling water anyway, and if it's that cold outside, having something that you can just go, I'm hungry, I'm going to heat up a bunch of water and make myself something nice and hot to eat is almost never a bad thing. At the same time, if you were, say, in the desert, that's honestly the last thing you want because you're going to have trouble finding water as is. But and then you say, I'm going to bring freeze-dried food out there. So now you've got to figure out, well, do I bring the freeze-dried food or do I do something different? Honestly, if you're going out into a desert or something similar, my first response is always something like an MRE. MREs already have everything in them. They are, well, they're already cooked. They already have moisture in them. So you're going to still need more moisture, but your food isn't going to be a cause of you not having enough, which is a big problem. And as always, certain foods can make it an issue. Things like crackers, jerky, anything dried really can make you thirsty. Even stuff that isn't necessarily dry, but it brings you thirst. I know a lot of people who find chocolate makes them thirsty. And chocolate is actually a good thing to bring with you when you're out. There's a lot of morale and such that comes with having something like that. But yet, it's something you have to be careful about because, hey, I'm going to be thirsty after doing that is something you have to always pay attention to. I got 4 sharpening stones. Well, let's get ourselves some more wood. Now, here I am, breaking down a bunch of stuff to use as firewood. Would I do this in this situation? Possibly. It depends what I could find. I know mechanics don't allow it, but what I would probably end up doing is I'd end up going out, finding one of the larger branches, and using said larger branch to and pretty much drag it back into here and then chop it up inside where it's warmer. The biggest problem with doing that, the biggest problem with using things like, found wood is that if it's been outside in the snow and the rain, it's going to be wet. It's not going to light easy. You need to season wood, which would probably end up with me actually, cutting up some of the furniture and using it, at least in the short term, to make sure I had enough dry enough dry wood to light a fire. Well, let's see. We'll make ourselves a tea. We'll do the pork and beans. Now, this is another kind of meta thing talking, but a lot of times in the long dark and in other survival games like this, you'll find people are very much, they try to game the system because they know that, oh, well, if I starve during the day, then eat at night, I'll recover all my health and then I'll be good to go the next day. Generally speaking, as far as thirst and hunger, if you have something to eat and you're hungry, you should eat. It does you no good to wait unless you know you're going to go for a long time without any kind of food or water. Even then, you can slowly kill yourself when dealing with stuff like that. Now, I think I've told the story of how, let's see, what are 2 hours and 15 minutes. You know what I'm going to do? 2 hours and 15 minutes. It takes 1 hour for that. I will go to bed. And I'll have nice boiled water when I wake up in the morning. Oh boy. Wow. 2 books about fire making. Always keep that. A lot of people, when they run games like this, specifically this game, they'll often turn areas into into kind of a shelter, dump as much weight as they can, and then go out and then loop back. That's not necessarily a bad idea. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put this out for the time being. Throw most of my food in here because I'm going to come back for this stuff. I'll keep a couple of those. Keep those. Now, suppose you're wondering, what's the kind of my thought process behind this? Well, I'm taking all the stuff that I honestly don't know if I'll need. I'm never going to need revolver ammo until I find a revolver, so I might as well throw the revolver ammo in there. Definitely not going to need 4 whetstones. Need all the tools. I probably don't need 7 flares. So we'll cut that down as well. Keep the cloth and the leather. Might have to repair something. Speaking of repairs, I only got a single sewing kit. A couple fishing lines. No extra clothing. Painkillers, a couple stems, energy drink. That's actually not a bad setup for just going about exploring. But that's already 34 kilos. Just one more, and I'm already kind of out. Now let's eat something. Drink something, and we'll get out and looking around. Now, I just need a little bit of light. One match isn't gonna hurt me, although, to be fair, that match is a lot brighter than it really would be. We'll let it burn out, and we'll start looking. We'll grab some cattails. Now, one thing is definitely correct here. Those cattail heads are good fire starters. They're basically they're very fluffy on the inside and can light up easily. Cattail stalks are in fact edible, although I think I've mentioned that the calorie count on them isn't quite what the game would let you think, especially for the weight that they are. That being said, at the very least, it's not a bad thought for you to do that, and even if it's only 15-20 calories per cattail stalk, it's still something that you're putting in your stomach. The worst thing for your stomach to be is completely empty. Even if you're not eating enough, if you're eating something, your body won't be nearly as badly affected. Oh, hello, Mr. Wolves. Are there two of you? Looks like there's two of you. I really don't want to deal with you. Does this one have a door? This one does not. Ooh, hello.
What have we here?
Well, so we were certainly doing fishing here. Pot-bellied stove. Now, walking across this ice, I know people are always worried now, and in the long dark there are places where you can fall through the ice. This place is not one of them. I don't know if it's simply because they didn't have the code to do it yet,
Too much stuff to carry.
or if they decided that, nah, we don't have to worry about it here. However, I do like the fact that, whenever you're near someplace that has one of these ice fishing huts, you're not ever going to have issues with the ice breaking and you falling in, which, I kind of like. People who lived there and have dealt with ice for years, if not generations, would know, okay, this is where the ice is going to be thick. We'll bring the ice fishing huts out to here. We'll cut a hole, and we're all good. The design of the ice fishing hole is actually kind of nice, where you have a wooden floor that most people can sit or stand on. You have a place for you to do a cut and access the ice and do your actual fishing. I've talked about maintaining body heat a bit. One of the things you always have to remember about body heat is the ground is one of your worst enemies. Laying on the ground And if you lay on the ground will act like a heat sink and pull heat from your body. This is why there's air beds, camp pads, and all sorts of other things. Whenever you see somebody making a camp, you'll always see them doing things like putting leaves leaves underneath themselves. You know, most people think it's to make them more comfortable, and while yes, it does make you more comfortable, the real reason you're doing that is so that you don't freeze. It's acting as insulation. Now, if you're out on your own, what's the first thing you do? Well, you find something that works. If you've noticed, there've been a couple caves where you've seen a leaf bed. Leaf beds are absolutely something you can do, and in all honesty, probably a good idea if you're stuck outside. If you're stuck outside and need to make a shelter. Now, the other smart thing to do is to have yourself an actual bedroll. Now, what is an actual bedroll? Well, a bedroll is two things. It's going to be either a blanket or, in modern times, a sleeping bag, something that you keep warm in. But there will also be a ground cloth of some type, whether it's oilcloth or other kind of canvas. In modern days, you might very well use something made out of plastic. Whatever it is, you want something to go between you and everything else. Something that's probably mostly waterproof and is big enough that you can use it for shelter. If you have the weight, or you found something that's a synthetic that's pretty light, what you'd actually probably do is kind of fold your tarp or whatever triangularly. Half of it would be on the ground, and then you'd angle the rest of it up as kind of a lean-to. You'd face the seam where it folds at the wind, or at the wind you believe the wind's going to be coming at.
Useful in here.
Especially if you're, in like a valley or something. Books. You do that, you tie that thing down, and you've basically got a makeshift tent. You can, if you have that same kind of tarp, particularly modern days, you're going to want one with eye hooks, because that makes it a lot easier for you to hang it on something. But if you do that, and you say make a ridge line and hang half of it over on one side, half of it over on the other, you're going to have to build up a lot of loft, or whatever you want to call it, underneath yourself. The reason why I like
Wonder if this is any good to eat.
the reason why I like those tarps and everything is because it not only protects you from the wetness and everything else, but you're less likely to have insects or other things crawling up. Now, having something like that happen is, well, it's honestly a lot more common than you think it is. And the best thing you can do is raise yourself, put things around you, and have a fire near you. A lot of things in the wild don't want to go near fires, which is something that actually does seem to be
Thank goodness.
fairly common in the long dark, where if you have a actual fire going, a lot of the wild animals will leave you alone. Now, I watch other people who play The Long Dark. Oh, hello, Mr. Bear. I'm gonna stay away from you. You are not somebody I want to deal with. Now, despite the fact that you could probably run a bear off with a firearm, honestly, good survival tells you, nah, just stay away from the damn bear. And don't go poking it with a stick. This applies generally to pretty much any place you're at. Knowing that there is a bear there, however, if you have a rifle, you'd probably walk with that thing out and unlimbered, as opposed to, slung over your back like a lot of people would when walking. So I'm going to follow my own advice and be ready just in case something decides to try to make me its breakfast. Or, no, yeah, breakfast. It's only been a couple hours. It's still morning. Now that looks like an honest wolf pack. Would you be safe from wolves if they were that close to you? Probably. They mostly don't like to deal with humans, but there have been exceptions. Keeping a wide berth would probably do you and anybody you're traveling with a world of good. Now, I want to go back to a little bit about thought process here. Now, I said, okay, he's trying to get to the airport because that's how he knows he can get out of the survivor can get out of here. But then you see me going off looking for supplies. Why would he go off this way? Well, here's the thing. You're going to have to look for supplies. But when I was in that... when you go into that thing, what's the first thing you see? You see a map of the local area. If you're stuck, lost, and you find a map of the local area, use it. Go, oh, hey, look, there's cabins all around this lake that I'm, right standing near to. I should go check those out. Because, hey, they'd probably be useful. Do we have... Come on, let's have some ptarmigan. I can hear them. All right, time to switch. Where are you, you little bags of fluff? Oh, that's lovely. Okay, what the heck? I got one ptarmigan. That's something to eat. Actually, that's probably something I can make a stew or a pie out of. That is if... Oh, that is a interesting game glitch. I wonder if it'll be the same if I go inside the building. Yep. Means I'll probably have to stop before that'll go away. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think a bird like that would be that still after firing that first arrow at it. Now, I can understand birds coming right up to you, not really caring. You see it all the time in places like Yosemite, places where, well, you're not supposed to hunt. You can walk in there and you'll see birds just right up to people, especially the quail. They will come right up to you on a hiking path, and more than likely they're going to be like and try to get you to give them food. Now, in a hunting situation, that makes your life easy. You need something that you can stun it or kill it with, and you can get close to it. Now, there aren't all that many places where you can do that, although in modern day world, if you're stuck in an urban survival, you can probably find a lot of birds that you can trick into getting close to you by dropping a little bit of something as you're going on, and greedy birds will swoop in and try to take it. Things like ducks, seagulls, geese to a lesser extent, crows and ravens, they will all just come right up and try to take things. There are smaller birds that will, but once you get once you get below a certain size, they're really not worth it for you to try to take out and cook. But something the size of, say, a large crow probably has enough meat on it that you could eat it. Something the size of the duck definitely would. Something the size of a seagull probably would. Although I dislike dealing with seagulls, I find them to be some of the most offensive birds I've had to deal with. That just comes from living in a town where seagulls show up everywhere. Although, now that I think about it, cooking one up seems like a good kind of revenge. But that's neither here nor there. So, got a bunch of stuff here. Now that I'm inside, we're going to do some prep work. First off, I'm going to drop another one of those things. That's great for dealing with that. Survive the outdoors. We'll do some research. Okay. Now, there is one thing I do find interesting when dealing with these study books and the like. You can study until you get hungry or thirsty or too tired, but one thing you can't do is read while you're sick. And I don't know about you, but when I'm sick, I don't want to do much, but I can sit there and read all day if I'm sick. Maybe it's simply the fact that it's not just, reading while sick, but reading and learning while sick might be the more, oh, hello. Oh, hello, hello, hello. I am happy with that. Now, if I just could find some carrots, I could make some stews. Yeah, as you see here, that looks like a local area map. Probably has trail markers and everything else. Probably also say, like, this is the dam, leave them alone. This is where the lumberjacks are. Don't go there. Don't bother them when they're dropping trees. I mean, there's a lot of things that you'd want to put on one of those kind of maps. But now, I think I want to see Actually, I want to see what I can make. You got some broth. You got
This
the oats.
pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Yeah, I know. Where is... I thought I had put the flour in here. I didn't leave the flour someplace else, did I? Or did I put it over here? I put it over here. The rest of the cooking oil. Two pairs of trail boots. Some sport socks. Let's get a fire going. Actually, let's see what I can make. Cooking. Oh, cooking skill. Oh, insufficient. Oh, ptarmigan pie. If I could get some ptarmigan and enough cooking skill, I could make that. I'm still at a 1. I could make some... Oh, ptarmigan stew. I can make some ptarmigan stew. Once I get a few things going. So let's get a fire going. We'll use that book. And we'll get cooking. Now, when survival cooking, stews and broths are some of the best things you can actually make. If for no other reason, they're very simple.
All right.
And once you have enough, water and spices and stuff, you really don't have to worry about... I should have done this earlier, but let's harvest. Hunting knife. Dusty's first ptarmigan. There's the porridge. Ptarmigan stew. There we go. And some broth. And some ptarmigan and a little bit of flour. Very little bit of flour. Well, that's just to thicken it. Oh wow, that's going to take a while to cook. That gives me time to read up some more. I think I'll put an hour of researching the gunsmithing.
I could eat anything right now.
Yeah. Ptarmigan. And you know what? Let's cook up a potato to go with it. Oh wow, 750 calories. That's a pretty good amount. I wonder if I have enough to make ptarmigan
Not sure
broth.
why I feel so tired.
Because you've been running around. Broth. Oh wow, that's a lot. Well, yeah, the broth would reduce. Wow, that is a lot of reduction. So, I'm looking at this. You're putting a kilogram of meat and 1.5 liters of water, which is another kilogram and a half, and a little bit of salt in here to make broth. And the broth is 0.1 kilograms, so that's pretty low. But I know that you get like 5 broth out of that. So okay, that's a little bit better. So you're getting half a kilogram out of 2.5 kilograms of component. One of it being meat, which shouldn't reduce that much. The water, yeah, some of it's going to reduce, but that's a horrendous amount of loss there. You know, I'm going to let's. Oh, how much time do I got? 40 minutes. Oh, I get improved rest from that. I don't need to try to find any of my tea. And I left my salt there. Anyway, let's see. Let's grab a couple more things. Again, we'll grab the calories from that. This is probably the best time to eat something like that might or might not be good. As I can just... Oh, there we go. Do that, and we'll do that. Now, I think I mentioned before about condensed milk and just how ridiculously calorie dense that stuff is. I have 25 minutes, which is not enough to do anything, although that is a lot to pluck that thing, but
I'm feeling so drained.
yeah, I bet you are. Do I have enough? Let's see. Down bedroll. Wow. I need at least 2 more. Yeah, at least 2 more ptarmigans to take down. Yeah, I'm fed enough that I will be able to wake up and still have calories. If be a little bit thirsty, we'll just pop a soda first. And we'll drink some water. Now, sodas. Sodas are interesting because they are actually something that that are actually really good for you to have when you're hungry. I honestly, if you haven't eaten in a while, eating just plain straight eating right away can be bad for your stomach. You're supposed to kind of gently get your body into it by basically drinking something that has calories to start your digestion. Sodas are actually really good for that, along with things like sports drinks, things like Gatorade or something else that has, sugar and other things in it. Straight water, yeah, straight water will always hydrate you, but if you're in a survival situation, straight water might not be what you really want. Now, I'm actually going to call it here because I think my next my next little trip all along here is to head out to the hunting lodge, and I need to sleep to do that. Just head out to the hunter's cabin and see what I can find there, knowing that there is a hunter's cabin is what you'd find out from that map in the front. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again. And have a good day. Bye.